G'day everyone. This is a quick video to show you how to build the Battlefield Accessories version 2 chain of command force morale tracker. So the sheet comes like this. It's printed. There's a back and a front. The front's printed with national flags, and there's a few bits and pieces that go in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to de-sprue this by getting a knife and just trimming out all the pieces. I'm going to fast forward that, so watch this. Okay, so your deconstructed kit has got a bunch of components. So we've got these smaller wheels, this larger wheel, which is going to be force morale. You need 3 of these little circles things, and you'll see we've provided you a spare one in the kit. You've got these T pieces which have no top on them, these T pieces which do have a top, and these I-beams, let's call them. You also get a piece of Perspex in the kit. Now, one of the things I'll note on that is that it's engraved on one side, and the reverse side has actually got a film on it, so you need to pull that film off when you're going to install the thing in the kit. The other thing is on the back and the front, there are some cut holes, and so you can see, it's probably hard to see on this, but if I hold that up there, then you'll see that this one has got a little bit of MDF still in it. So you just need to come around before we put any glue anywhere near anything. Just make sure that all of those holes are clear. If you look on the back, it's much more straightforward. You can see here on the back of this one, I'm just going to push those through. There we go, beautiful. Now the way this goes together, you'll see that there's cutouts on the back and on the front. And so they're basically going to sit together like that. So your back is going to have this texture on it, your front is going to have your national flag. I'll start with the Perspex piece. Under Chain of Command version 2, right, the different forces, depending on their training level and what period of the war, have different force morale breakdown points. So the idea is we put this Perspex piece in here, so I can actually translate from the rulebook the actual values for like what happens when I get down to force morale 1 and 2 and 3 and so on. Okay, so it allows this to be flexible, so whilst it's German, it can represent any of the German forces that I want to. Okay, so let's start with that. Now, for all of this, I'm using super glue. You could use PVA glue. I just like to use super glue because it dries a bit quicker. I'm going to use minimal amounts of this. Whenever we're doing any of our MDF kits, when you've got 2 MDF sides together, the PVA glue will work fine, or white glue. If I'm gluing a printed surface to another printed surface or to MDF, we tend to find that white glue, whilst it'll work okay, if you drop it, it will tend to come apart. So that's why we choose super glue. Now, so in terms of where these pieces go, I'm going to put my Perspex in here like this. Now for that, I'm going to put the cut side down, and you can see I've got these set of double holes that go around the outside of it. That's where these I-beams are going to go. So, okay, so taking my super glue, just going to put a small amount of glue in the middle of those pairs of holes. Then going to come along with my I-beams. Now, I of course always, whenever I'm using super glue, safety first. I've got my glasses on, and I'm also going to use gloves so as I don't get super glue on my fingers because it's very annoying. So again, taking this I-beam piece and putting it in the hole. Now you've got 4 of those, and they will sit in there like that very nicely. Then I'll take my Perspex and I'll just drop that in there. Now, if you've got a bit of leaked super glue on the side, you might want to let that dry. For me, it doesn't worry me too much, so I'm just going to put that in there right now. Reasonably tight fit, as you can see. Okay, next I'm going to do the dials. Now the dials, if I think about how they sit on my tracker, they sit like this, and the giveaway for this is these little cutouts are designed so you can get your fingers in there and turn the dials. So I'm going to have one here, and the large one there, and the 2 small ones down here. So the way that the dials work is you take the T piece without an end on it, and it basically sits inside there glued. Then this ring glues around it, and then no glue, I place that around the outside, and that then gives me the ability to spin. Now if you're going to make a mistake on this, it's going to be having glue leaking out the side of this. So this is my kind of hot tip for doing this. I'm just going to put a tiny bit of glue in on the spike and put that in, drop that in. Now, word of warning on this, you may get some glue leaking out the back on all of these, so I would either work on, like you could work on the sprue piece that's left over, right, or put some paper down. Definitely don't do this on the kitchen bench, or you will be in trouble with your better half. Okay, so I'm just gluing these T's in. Now again, these are the T's without a spike on the top. And I probably should have put a glove on both hands. Now, what I'm now going to do is come along and put my rings over the top. Now these rings don't need any glue because they're stopped from spinning by the fact they're in the middle of that T. I'm going to have my circle over it, and then the whole thing is going to have the top locked over the top of it, so these aren't actually going to move. So the T-piece we've inserted in the board is holding them in place. The rest of it is just going to allow that. So I'm going to check to make sure I've got no glue residue, which I know I don't, and so I'm going to place all of those on there like that. Okay, and so now I'm going to discard. I've got a spare circle and a spare T. I've got these crosses, if you like. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 holes remaining. Let me just move that because it's stuck to the board. Got 5 holes remaining, and one of these is going to go in each. And again, tiny bit of glue on it, and slide it into place. Again, I'm picking my thing up. I'm going to work on my spare sprue. Now, one thing I didn't do with this, which we often do with our MDF kits, is always do a dry fit first. I've taken this one straight out of the cutter and out of the printer. I know it's going to go together. But for your one at home, I would always do a dry fit first. Oh, the other thing I should mention is that on the cross, there's 3mm either side and then a 4mm gap in the middle. That's to allow the discs to spin. They will only go in that way. Right, you can't get them around the wrong way, but make sure you look that the 2 long arms of the cross are going into the board. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they're all in place. Final part with this is I'm going to take this top board and I'm going to lock it in the top. This is the only bit which sometimes needs a bit of alignment, and we'll see how mine goes together. Putting a little bit of glue on the top of those crosses. Around the dials here, I'm just being careful I don't get glue leakage out onto those, because that will really ruin your day. Best way to do this is get directly above it, and then you can get light will come up through the hole, which will allow you to then see that you've got it aligned correctly. And as you work around the model, it will just lock down into place, and there you go, that's done. Okay, so here I have my tracker. So I can set my initial force morale in here. Right, force morale, I don't normally roll that good, so let's say force morale 9. That's probably more likely what I'm going to get. And my chain of command dice, of course, going to start that at 0. My command points, depending on the scenario I'm playing, will either start at 0. Some of them might start with a D3. Right, so I can have them sitting in there. These spaces over the side here are designed for your chain of command dice. Now, I haven't actually got any of my 2 Fat Lardies dice here, but let's say I just roll these 2. Right, I'm going to put those dice in those frames, so as that way I'm not going to accidentally pick them up and roll them, and as I spend them I can take them out and put them against the units that I've spent them on, or however you like to keep track of that sort of stuff. In terms of this Perspex sheet at the top here, what we do is we use chalk-based markers, so like this one here. Now this one's probably a bit big. There's a smaller version of this, right? But let's say that I'm sitting at 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5. And so taking those out of the book, I'm writing them down on my sheet. That's now what that'll take a second to dry, and that's good to go. Later on, when I decide that I want to run a different force, I just get a piece of cloth or a cotton tip with some water on it, and I can just erase that out, because they're basically water-based paint pens. Okay, so they're really good. Just available in any kind of stationery store. If you're in Australia, Officeworks sell them. Okay, there we go.